Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
You're listening to Radio Algeria International. The Speaker of the Council of the Nation, Salah Goujil, has hailed the adoption of the two chambers of parliament of the 2025 finance law, stressing that it comes in a very special context. And Energy and Mines Minister Mohamed Arqab has given the kickoff of the phosphate mine project in the region of Bled Al Hadba in Tbissa province as part of the integrated project of extraction, processing and exploitation of phosphate. And scores of Palestinians were killed in airstrikes carried out today by the Israeli occupation against the northern part of the Gaza Strip, devastated by several weeks of relentless bombardments. And those were the major developments. Now the details. Prime Minister Nadel Arbawi has brought to the Constitutional Court the Finance Bill for 2025, recently adopted by both Houses of Parliament, with a view to examining the constitutionality of the amendment introduced into the text of Article 23, 29, 33 and 55 of the Finance Bill, as these amendments do not comply with the Article 147 of the Constitution. The Speaker of the Council of the Nation, Salah Goujil, has hailed the adoption by the two chambers of parliament of the 2025 finance law, stressing that it comes in a very special context this year, coinciding with the celebration of the 70th anniversary of the outbreak of the Glorious Revolution. Mr. Goujil added that the 2025 finance law reflects all the commitments made by the President of the Republic, aiming at giving Algeria a leading role at several levels.
This law is special, as I said at the outset. It has a political dimension because it coincides with the 70th anniversary of the outbreak of the Glorious Revolution. This law came right after the re-election of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, for a second term. This law carries all the significance. When we read the law, we sense all the commitments of the President of the Republic, both the previous and the future ones. This is a start of the second phase that will give Algeria a leading position both at the political and economic levels.
It's worth recalling that the 2025 finance bill was adopted by the People's National Assembly and then by the Council of the Nation, with a special emphasis on the social aspect and the protection of the citizens' purchasing power. Energy and Mines Minister Mohamed Arqab has given the kickoff of the phosphate mine project in the region of Bled Al Hadba in Tbissa province as part of the integrated project of extraction, processing and exploitation of phosphate. Mariam Barshi has the details.
This took place during his working visit to Tbissa province, accompanied by the CEOs of the Sonatrach and Sonaram groups. After receiving explanations on the different stages of the project, the Energy and Mines Minister indicated that the project will bring a qualitative leap to the national economy and mining industry due to its major importance, especially in the three provinces of Tbissa, Souga and Annaba. Mr. Arqab said the importance of the project also lies in the manufacturing of phosphate and nitrogen fertilizers, thus contributing to achieving the country's food self-sufficiency in line with the state's strategy aimed at creating a large number of agricultural areas, which will require the supply of large quantities of fertilizers to prepare the soil. The Minister of Energy and Mines said the President Abdelmajid Tebboune attaches a great importance to this project, which will be implemented by a 100% Algerian workforce.
This project will be implemented by the Sonaram Group through the branch Sonifos, which is in command of new technologies and has qualified executives who are skilled and competent to implement this project using the company's capacities, which are 100% Algerian. The company will exploit this reserve. We came today to attend the kickoff of the integrated phosphate project from the source of this project. بلاد الحدبة.
هو مكمن بلاد الحدبة.
Let's note that Bled Al Hadba mine contains a significant reserve of phosphate likely to be exploited for 80 years with more than 1,200 million tons, 800 million of which can be exploited. The Energy and Mines Minister, Mohamed Arkab, will travel to the province of Sugaharas, where he will supervise the launch of preparatory work for the implementation of the project of the complex for the transformation and production of nitrogen and phosphate fertilizers in Wed Kibrit.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. The parliamentary delegation attending the 29th session of the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, COP29 in Baku, Azerbaijan, has affirmed Algeria's commitment to tackling global environmental challenges. The second session of the parliamentary meeting, held as part of the 29th session of the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, was attended by a joint delegation from the two houses of parliament, made up notably by the President of the Parliamentary Network on Climate and Environment. During the session entitled Strengthening Resilience in the Face of Climate Change, Extending the Scope of Adaptation and Local Empowerment, Algeria reaffirmed its commitment to meeting the global environmental challenges. On the occasion, Mr. Chenini called for the creation of an international network of countries impacted by climate change, stressing the importance of transparency in financing and technology transfer. Mr. Louni spoke of Algeria's efforts to combat desertification, citing the Green Dam project launched in the 1970s to halt the advance of sand and rehabilitate degraded land. You still listen to Radio Algeria International, and Mr. Lonis also assured that Algeria was working to achieve a balance between sustainable development and environmental protection, calling for greater international financial and technical support for projects to combat desertification. He stressed Algeria's commitment to comply with all the international conventions on environmental protection, in particular the Paris Agreement on reducing gas emissions by 7% by 2030, adding that it had taken major steps to this effect. He also mentioned Algeria's national plan for the energy transition aimed at reducing dependence on fossil fuels and the national plan to combat climate change, which represents a global strategy in dealing with climate change. And now thousands of people have demonstrated in Madrid to demand a clear and firm position from the government of Pedro Sanchez that denounces the occupation of Western Sahara by Morocco and to demand self-determination for the Sahrawi people. According to the organizers, more than 3,000 people from different committees, associations and organizations in solidarity with the Sahrawi people gathered in front of the Atocha train station to show their support for the Sahrawi people and call for respect of international law in Western Sahara. The procession set off early in the afternoon, and large groups of demonstrators converged from various regions of Spain towards Puerta del Sol Square. Organized at the call of the Coordination of Associations in Solidarity with Western Sahara, the demonstration attracted politicians, representatives of the world of culture and civil society who marched alongside the representative of the Polisario Front in Spain, Abdullah Al-Arabi, who said the following.
We are
taking part in this protest to denounce the Madrid Accords, through which Spain has abandoned its responsibilities towards Western Sahara. 49 years later, the Spanish and Sahrawi peoples are denouncing once again these accords, calling on the Spanish government to assume its responsibilities in order to achieve the decolonization process. This protest coincides with a huge victory of the Sahrawi people, which is the ruling of the EU Court of Justice. It constitutes, on the one hand, a tool for the movement to continue claiming and demanding the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination, and on the other hand, for the Sahrawi people and its representative, the Polisario Front, to start a legal battle against the plundering of our natural resources, whose sole owner is the Sahrawi people, as it has just been ruled by the EU Court of Justice, in addition to emphasizing that the Sahrawi and Moroccan territories are two distinct and separate territories, and for this reason it has annulled the illegal economic accords between Morocco and the European Union.
Participants to the demonstration who came from all over Spain also chanted slogans denouncing the plundering of natural resources of Western Sahara and raised banners demanding respect for the principle of the permanent sovereignty of peoples over their natural resources. They also expressed their support for the Sahrawi youth who are the future of the Arab Sahrawi Democratic Republic, as emphasized by the female Sahrawi protester.
We are here today to reaffirm our solidarity with and assistance to the Sahrawi youth who are the future of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. They are here in Madrid to convey a message from the Sahrawi people about their existence, their voice and their say, and their right to decide on their fate through a self-determination referendum.
The demonstrators also demanded that the European Union comply with the rulings of its Court of Justice regarding Western Sahara, which invalidated at the beginning of October 2 trade agreements between the EU and Morocco, specifying that the natural resources of Western Sahara cannot be exploited without the consent of the Sahrawi people legitimately represented by the Polisario Front. To the Middle East now, scores of Palestinians were killed in airstrikes carried out today by the Israeli occupation against the northern part of the Gaza Strip, devastated by several weeks of relentless bombardments. The most violent attack took place in Beit Lahia, where 26 bodies had been recovered from the rubble of a 5-story or stairs building, whereas scores of others remained trapped. The Israeli strikes that hit the central areas of Nusayrat, Jabalia and Al-Bureij were denounced by the Palestinian Health Ministry, which also strongly condemned the repeated attacks on health infrastructure as a violation of international law. This came as the International Relief Committee IRC affirmed that the situation in the northern part of Gaza had gone beyond the limits and reached a critical point, and urged for an immediate lifting of restrictions imposed on humanitarian aid. You still listen to Radio Algeria International, and the IRC also assured that over 80% of humanitarian aid is still blocked by the Israeli occupying authorities, stressing that the supplies had reached their lowest level since October 2023. In this connection, the director of the Kamal Adwan Hospital, Hussam Abu Safia, depicted the disastrous situation in the area.
We are today in face of a new massacre, one of the series of massacres perpetrated against our people in Gaza. It has so far claimed 100 lives, and there are still other victims trapped under the rubble. There is no means, no ambulances. The victims are taken to hospital by civilians. We called on the world, and we still do, to allow for the entry of specialized physician teams and ambulances. Here, the Al Adwan hospital is functioning at its lowest level on account of the lack of means. The situation is really catastrophic. It needs an international intervention to stop the bloodshed in the northern part of Gaza, where 100,000 people are deprived of food and water, as if it was the cost to pay for staying in the area.
That was the statement of the director of the Kamal Adwan Hospital, Hussam Abu Safia. Iran's diplomacy chief has said that there is a chance to settle the question of Iran's nuclear program through diplomacy, but the chance remains limited. In a statement to the Iranian state TV channel following the visit of the head of the International Agency of Atomic Energy, Rafael Grossi, the Iranian diplomacy chief highlighted the existence of a chance, but said it was not a big chance. Rafael Grossi paid a visit to 2 major nuclear sites in Iran. The Iranian official said next year the Iranian nuclear file will be delicate and complicated, but Iran is ready to face up to all kinds of scenarios, as he put it. And the Colombian president has said that the 16th UN Conference on Biodiversity hopes to obtain in the first quarter of 2025 the major financial agreement on the protection of nature that could not be concluded in Cali at the beginning of November. The 196 member countries of the UN Convention on Biological Diversity left Cali on November 2nd without an agreement on the financial roadmap intended to boost humanity's timid efforts to halt the destruction of nature by 2030. You still listen to Radio Algeria International, and 2:45 minutes Algiers time. I invite you now to listen to the international event of the week.
The international event of the week.
Arab and Muslim leaders meeting this week in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, have called for an immediate end to be put to Israel's acts of aggression and to the war crimes and massacres perpetrated by the occupying forces against the Palestinian people. In a final declaration issued at the end of the joint summit meeting of the Arab League and the Islamic Cooperation Organization, they condemned the Israeli aggression on Gaza and called for a lifting of the blockade imposed by the Israeli occupying authorities on the enclave to allow in humanitarian aid. The document denounces the double standards in implementing international law, which seriously undermines the credibility of those states seeking to protect Israel from any accountability and the credibility of the multilateral action. Asked about how crucial and timely the Arab and Muslim leaders' denunciation of the double standards is at a time when multilateral action is at stake more than ever before, our California-based political analyst Hamoud Salhi had this to say.
This kind of efforts are important for the realization of peace in the region. The meeting serves as a reminder to the international community of the dire need to implement international law and hold the Jewish state accountable for its actions. The final communique reaffirmed, as it stated, the centrality of the Palestinian and the cause and the firm support for the Palestinian people, legitimate right to achieve statehood, while simultaneously reminding the world at large that Al-Quds Sharif, the mosque, is a red line for the Arab and Islamist countries. And calling on all countries, United Nations Security Council, the International World or the World Criminal Court of Justice to take actions against the Jewish states for its violation of international law in the region. And this is specifically related to Gaza, West Bank, and Lebanon. These denunciations are important. They are another diplomatic tool or documentation to show what the Israelis have committed of atrocities, genocide, and what and other violation of human rights. It provides, in this context, a reliable source for documenting those atrocities, and how the two most important organizations, the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Countries, responded during these difficult times, and when the Palestinians and Lebanese are facing acts against their people.
The final declaration of the Riyadh meeting, attended by Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf, reiterates the attachment of the Arab League and the Islamic Cooperation Organization's member states to peace as a strategic option to end the Israeli-Arab conflict. In this respect, they called for a total Israeli withdrawal from Arab territories in order to reach an overall peace in the Middle East. They called for a credible peace process to be launched as soon as possible on the basis of international law, relevant UN resolutions, and the principle of the law for peace. They reiterated that a fair and global peace could not be achieved unless a halt was put to Israel's occupation of all territories in conformity with UN resolutions and the Arab Peace Plan adopted in 2002. In this connection, the Arab and Muslim leaders insisted on the necessity to safeguard the unity of all the Palestinian territories, including Gaza and the West Bank, within a unified state with occupied Jerusalem as its capital. Asked if the Arab and Muslim states reaffirmed stance on the two-state solution was a signal sent to the future U.S. administration that their common position remained unchanged despite the developments taking place in the region, our political analyst Hamoud Salhi had the following.
These two organizations can play a vital role in international politics, and in particular in the United Nations General Assembly. They constitute potentially one of the strongest blocs to rally behind the Palestinian cause. As stated in their communique, the two organizations also are fully aware of their abilities and want, by what they come up with action items, want to put that to help the Palestinian people. As clearly stated in the action items, the two organizations can do a lot of things and can translate the 38 or so calls that they labeled as actions to develop a strong mechanism to achieve, to help Palestinian achieve statehood, full statehood in General Assembly. In addition, when we look at it from the other perspective, the two organizations listed what could be seen as a clear warning, what they consider a red line, that the attacks on Al-Aqsa Sharif is a red line according to them. But this is stated in the preamble. In the introduction of the communique, it doesn't have the action or the item action to be enforced, even though, or to be sort of indicated in the action item section. But one could say that perhaps this is just a matter of time before these two organizations can add it as an action item, which means they would have the ability to engage in activities as a result of Israel violation of what they consider a red line. A lot of potential there for these two organizations to do well for the Palestinian cause. It's just perhaps a matter of getting things done in practice more so than in communiques.
During the Riyadh meeting, the Arab League, the Islamic Cooperation Organization and the African Union agreed on a three-party mechanism to support the Palestinian cause. The mechanism is aimed at reinforcing political consultation and promoting coordination and cooperation in support of the Palestinian issue. Asked about what such an agreement would imply for the Palestinians, notably for Palestine's membership to the UN, already backed by the UN General Assembly, our political analyst from California, Hamoud Salhi, is commenting the issue.
These two organizations can play a vital role in international politics, and in particular in the United Nations General Assembly. They constitute potentially one of the strongest blocs to rally behind the Palestinian cause. As stated in their communique, the two organizations also are fully aware of their abilities and want, by what they come up with action items, want to put that to help the Palestinian people. As clearly stated in the action items, the two organizations can do a lot of things and can translate the 38 or so calls that they labeled as actions to develop a strong mechanism to achieve, to help Palestinians achieve statehood, full statehood in General Assembly. In addition, when we look at it from the other perspective, the two organizations listed what could be seen as a clear warning, what they consider a red line, that the attacks on Al-Aqsa Sharif is a red line according to them. But this is stated in the preamble. In the introduction of the communique, it doesn't have the action or the item action to be enforced, even though, or to be sort of indicated in the action item section. But one could say that perhaps this is just a matter of time before these two organizations can add it as an action item, which means they would have the ability to engage in activities as a result of Israel violation of what they consider a red line. A lot of potential there for these two organizations to do well for the Palestinian cause. It's just perhaps a matter of getting things done in practice more so than in communiques.
Let's recall that the Arab and Muslim leaders meeting in Riyadh have held Algeria's efforts in support of the Palestinian issue. In this connection, the foreign minister stressed in a message he read on behalf of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, that Algeria remain committed to supporting the Palestinian cause, notably by reactivating Palestine's bid for UN membership.
Hello and good to have you with us in our program devoted to Algerian figures and personalities who marked history, notably in arts. Today we shed light on talented Algerian artist Mohamed Rassim, the founder of the School of Miniature Painting that still exists in Algeria today. Visitors to Algiers art museums, such as the magnificent National Gallery of Fine Arts in Algiers, are likely to come across the works of Mohamed Rassim. In Algeria and perhaps in most parts of the world, we cannot think of the past century's art of miniature without mentioning him, the father of Algerian miniature painter and calligrapher. In addition to being an accomplished artist, Mohamed Rassim was known for using his art to promote pride in his fellow Algerians and to encourage them to pursue independence during the time when the country was French territory.